This video is brought to you by the FarmerKlein YouTube channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another Farming Simulator 22 map first impressions video. Today we're going to take a look at Nowhere, Kansas 22. But before that, this video is brought to you by Chris Miller and Alfredo. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Nowhere, Kansas 22 map can be downloaded over at nexusmods.com. We'll have a link to that down in the description below. And we're just going to jump right now to a quick segment on how to properly download the map and what you need to do once the map is downloaded for the game to properly recognize it. Now, in order to download the map, you will need to create an account at nexusmods.com if you do not already have one. It is possible to create a free account. Now, Nexus Mods makes it rather difficult to understand how to make a free account. In fact, I did a video a couple years ago on exactly that, how to make a free account on nexusmods.com. And soon after that video was published, they completely changed the sign-up process. Now, I am not thinking that I caused them to change the sign-up process. I think maybe I just had really bad timing, but it is possible. Just look around. You will find obscure links to get past the paid sign-up process. You do not need to spend any money to create a Nexus Mods account. Now, to download the map, we're going to go and click on Manual. And once again, to download for free, we are going to click Slow Download. Now, this download is not going to be that terribly slow. My connection, it's going to take about 5 minutes, and I suspect that is going to be about how long it's going to take for everyone else as well. So just go, grab a cup of coffee, get yourself a drink, come and a snack, come back, and you'll have yourself downloaded. Now, downloading the map is not the only thing we need to do. So once we get this map downloaded, let's go ahead and take a look in our Downloads folder. Now, another thing to be cautious about is Nexus Mods renames the download from what was originally uploaded by the mod author. And in this case, we have added a whole lot of things to this file name, which will cause FarmSim22 to not recognize it. So we need to rename the file before we can get the game to recognize this download. So we're going to go to rename, and we're going to make this say Nowhere, Kansas 22 with no spaces, and we're going to get rid of all of the trailing digits and characters after the 22. So it now says Nowhere, Kansas 22, or in my case, Nowhere, Kansas 22.zip. Move this into your mod folder, and then the game will recognize the map. Now, with the map loaded in and the game recognized it, let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about the map. So this is a 16x wilderness style map. So think about No Man's Land, think about Western Wilds, think about some of the other wilderness style maps that we have seen released for Farming Simulator to date. Well, this map is 16 times larger than those maps. In fact, I don't think we've had 16 wilderness maps released, but imagine taking all the wilderness maps released, putting them all together. That would be probably the equivalent of this particular map. So we have a map that is 8 standard maps wide and 8 standard maps tall. So it is 8 kilometers squared. And a quick disclaimer from the description of this map is that while Nowhere, Kansas 22 is flat, we do acknowledge that Kansas is not a completely flat state, but we are representing an 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer square, approximately 24 square miles. And I will have to say there are areas of Kansas that are extremely flat for 24 square miles. Now, Kansas itself is obviously significantly much larger than 24 square miles, coming in at over 82,000 square miles in area. Let's go ahead and load in. We are going to use the mods that we typically use when we take a look at maps. That is additional field info, additional game settings, animal food overview, field lease, field calculator, and precision farming. Now, assuming that you have properly named the map as I showed earlier in the video, you will not have any errors in the log, and everything will appear exactly how it's going to appear here in this video. If you rename the map to something other than what I showed you, you will run into problems because a lot of the sell points will be missing from the map itself. Now this map loads up fairly quick, and here we are. We are loaded in new farm mode, but I will tell you, if you load this map up in farm manager mode or start from scratch, that you will find that we do not have any starting machinery in those alternate game modes, nor do we own any land. In fact, we don't own any land in any game mode. When we load in for the very first time, we do start here at a bus stop at a crossroads. And thankfully, we have an old abandoned pickup truck that we are going to be able to make use of in order to get around. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the map itself. Welcome to Nowhere, Kansas. We start down here in the middle southern part of the map. This map does include all the standard crops aside from sugarcane that is available to us in Farm Sim 22. If we do have the premium expansion, we do have the 3 new root crops in red beet, parsnips, and carrots also. Let's go ahead and take a look at our lands overview. And you will see that we have a lot of farmland, and a lot of those farmlands are various shapes and sizes, with the smallest farmlands down here to the south, and the largest farmland being in the northeast corner. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how large some of these are. Farmland ID 9 is going to be 38 acres in size. Farmland ID 10 is going to be 40 acres in size, $148,000. Now, in some pre-release testing, I did build out a farm on Farmland ID 16. It is 49 acres in size and can be bought for $119,000. So in new farmer mode, given the fact that there are no fields on this map, you will likely need to take out a loan in order to buy one of these smaller plots of land to get started with your endeavor. Now let's go and take this look and see how big is the largest farmland on this map. Farmland ID 14 is, well, it's a mere 3,470 acres in size. It can be bought for $4.2 million. Let's go ahead and take a look and see our farmland lease screen. This is going to show us all of the buyable farmlands, how large those farmlands are in hectares, and if they include any fields. Now, don't expect to see too many fields here because, well, this is a wilderness style map. We do have one very small postage size field that is required by the game, and that is going to be available here on Farmland ID 6. But trust me, you're not going to get more than a couple $100 of output off of that particular field. So you see Farmland ID, 519 hectares. Farmland ID 2, 506 hectares. Let's go ahead and take a look at Farmland ID 14. That's the biggest one. 1,400 hectares in size. I don't know how big a standard map is as far as hectares go, but I'm willing to bet it's a lot smaller than Farmland ID 14. We come down here, we can see then Farmland ID 16, like I mentioned, 19 hectares in size. We've had some 4X map with large, very large fields that are 19 hectares in size, and that is one of the smallest buildable areas on this particular map. Just to give you, again, a sense of scale as far as what is going on here. Now, taking a look at our field calculator screen, it's really not really worth taking a look at because, again, we only have one little small postage field that is really just required so the game doesn't kick out any errors. It is 0.02 hectares in size. Really isn't a need in showing you the soil map because, well, there are no fields to be defined. This map is using the standard base game US soil map. Now, if we go ahead and take a look at our crop counter, you will see that we are indeed using the standard base game crop counter that is available to us in FS22. If we take a look down through our prices screen, you will see that we do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game crops that are available to us in Farm Sim 22 that are available for growing on this map. In addition, we do have the ability to sell our eggs, wool, and milk, as well as our silage, hay, straw, and grass. As we continue down through all of our base game production items, we once again do indeed have the ability to sell all of our base game production items. So as we get involved in our production, we will be able to sell all of that. We do have the ability to buy bulk lime. In fact, we also have the ability to buy pig food, herbicide, as well as liquid fertilizer and solid fertilizer. We do have the ability to sell stones. We also have some additional field types in dry maize, dry soybean. This map is prepared with propane, as well as compost and anhydrous. You will need to have some special mods specifically for anhydrous and propane. I will have links to those also down in the description. With respect to the Platinum expansion, we do indeed have the ability to sell all of the Platinum expansion production items as well. Now, while this map is very, very light on trees, if you do wish to plant your own trees, you will have complete flexibility in what you do with those trees. And then lastly, we do have the ability to sell all of the premium expansion productions and root crops as well. Taking a look at our starting fleet in new farm mode, we start out with a small list of starting equipment, and it is, well, needs some maintenance. That is for sure. We do not have any animal pens pre-placed on this map, nor do we have any animals. We have a contract for the one field that we do not own. Again, it is not really going to pay out too terrible much. We do not have any production chains pre-placed on this map, and this map also does not have any collectibles. Let's go ahead and take a look at that starting fleet. We start out with the Kloss Xerion 5000 large tractor, as well as the Kloss Lexion 8900 harvester, and then the Conviflex 1380 grain header, and the Nardi N6045 header trailer. We've got a old Thrifty Master 6-cylinder pickup truck that we can make use of and tool around the map. We also have the Demco auger cart, the large PW112 6-meter plow, and then a Cargos 9500 forage wagon. That is our starting fleet. Taking a look at our mods and DLCs, you will see that we do have, again, the custom pickup truck that we could buy in the shop. And it is during this part of the video that I would typically go and show you the starting farm. But, well, this map does not have a starting farm. So let's jump back here and take a look at the PDA itself. Now we're going to jump up to the shop and show you that. But basically here, approximately in the middle of the map, we do have our vehicle shop. We have a fuel depot, and we have our animal dealer. And then across the street from the vehicle shop, we do have where our starting machinery is located. That is directly due north of where we start, which is right here. And then we have some sell points over here to the west and over here to the east. So as far as purchasing equipment, we're going to come to the old Ford dealership, and we're going to have to phone in our order because, well, this place is no longer staffed. So we can't come here. We can go ahead and pick up our Mahindra. Why not? That's going to spawn in across the street over there. Around the side of the building, we do have our dealer trigger for maintenance, repainting, repair, and such. We got our fuel pumps. Although you gotta be careful with the size of this map that you don't run out of fuel coming to get fuel because you ran yourself a little bit too low. And then across the street, we do have our animal dealer. Let's go ahead and pull up the PDA and, well, give you a sense of scale going on here. This is the only field on the map. Like I said, this is a small postage style map, or postage style field, and it is literally just here to keep the game from kicking back any sort of errors. From this point north, it is all grassland. So everything to the north is grassland, and then there is a fair bit of, we'll call this wild wheat, volunteer wheat, growing in the southern part of this map. The southern, maybe 2/3 of this map, is just a huge endless space of wild wheat. If you own the land, you can harvest this wheat. If you own the land, you can put down a straw windrow. It is a little interesting since there is no underlying field to this wild wheat, that when you do harvest it, you will have what looks like a mowed grass texture underneath. You can harvest the wheat, reap the rewards of that harvest, and then of course go ahead and plow up that ground and create your fields itself. This map does have some paintable ground textures. When we get down here to a little plot of land, which I'll go ahead and buy, I will go ahead and show you those. But just to give you a sense of scale, we've been driving for I don't know how long, talking about the wild wheat at 60 miles an hour. And you can see how slow our little carrot is over on the mini map, reflecting our current location. The fact that we are basically just going and going and going and going, and have yet to see the crossroads where we have started. We can see now how, well, we can't even see the buildings that we left. They are now so far off in the distance. There's the sell points off to the east and the sell points off to the west. This is going to make an amazing multiplayer map. Imagine if you could get yourself 16 like-minded individuals together on a single server, all wanting to build out your own farms, create your own fields and such. You can have a blast on this map. Everyone can have their own little worlds while at the same time getting together and doing a huge cooperative harvest. You can now start finally to see a few trees and buildings starting to pop in down here at the crossroads. Sometimes folks likes to play on maps like this because it does give them a sense of size, a sense of really needing to go somewhere, and the fact that it does take a fair bit of in-game time to get to those destinations. Let me go ahead and buy farmland ID 9, which is one of the plots right here next to the spawn point. We do have a little shed here that is our sleep trigger as well, so I can show that. So this is a little sleep trigger. You can go inside. Fun little details. Definitely worth checking this out. Taking a look in build mode, there are some custom factories and other items that are available. As far as sheds, we've got our standard shed allotment, but if we go to silos, we're going to find a 60-foot stave silo. This is going to be to ferment silage from grass or chaff. We have a lighted 3-sided silage bunker, and this one is going to be for compacting silage. We have another one that looks just like this, except it's named Bunker Silo Compost. This is going to be for taking pre-compost and compacting it and covering it up, and it's then going to make some compost. We have a grain dryer, and this grain dryer is going to accept propane, corn, and soybeans. Then it's going to dry that into dried corn and dried soybeans. We do have a placeable sleep trigger in a little mat, so you can put down any farmhouse or any building that you want and make your own little farmhouse there. Under custom production, we have a compost master pre-compost maker. So this is going to accept various inputs, and it's going to output pre-compost, which again, we're going to then put into our compost bunker here and eventually compact it and cover it and then produce compost. With that compost, we can put it on our fields. We can sell it in bulk, or we can bag it using the compost bagging facility located right there. We have our stone crusher that we can place down. And then the rest of this is fairly standard placeable items. I do want to show you, we do have a fair bit of ground textures. Let's go ahead and put those down. So we have our animal mud, asphalt, asphalt dark, asphalt rough, concrete, dirt, dirt brown, dry dirt, forest ground, grass, dry grass, patchy dry grass. We have gravel, gravel dirt, gravel dust, gravel grass, gravel moss, pathway, pathway gravel, and riverbed. In addition to that, we do also have some custom paintable ground textures. So we have meadow alternate. Okay, looks like that. We have a paraflower. We have big branches. Crimson flower. Clover foliage. Cultivated ground. We have flight cap. We have grass, which basically looks just like the grass that's already here. We have grass big, grass middle, and grass little. Green tallweed, maiden fern, maple leaves, meadow middle, meadow small. We have plowed ground, flower rumex, small dense mix, flower small rumex, stinging nettle. Then we have big stones, medium stones, and little stones. Then we wrap it up with thimbleberry. Let's go over here and take a look at all of these painted ground textures and foliage. So you can really go to town with respect to painting out the ground and painting down various foliages when you are building out your new farms. We also have, well, looking over there in the distance, massive trains that run across the southern part of the map. Now, those are not drivable trains. Those are just kind of animated static trains that are there more for ambiance than anything else. Now, they are loud, so we'll note if you do have headphones on, you may want to turn them down as we wait for the train. Just given the scale of this map, right? I've got to run toward them a little bit. All right, we'll just wait for this to come. That is fun to see. So with respect to scoring, while we wait on our train to come across here, we're going to be giving the map a full point with respect to production being built in or areas set aside for such, as we do with any wilderness style map, even though there are no productions pre-placed. also the fact that, well, we have the entirety of the map to place productions down. As far as our other scoring, we are going to be giving the map a full point with respect to being able to sell all the base game crops, production items, and animal outputs that are, again, part of the map. While this map is excluding sugarcane, that is perfectly fine because we do not have the ability to plant sugarcane, so it doesn't matter that we do not have the ability to sell sugarcane as well. Now, with respect to, can the farms be customizable? Well, the farms have the ultimate customization because there are none, and therefore any farm that you put down will be completely custom. So once again, we are giving the map a full point there as well. After a little train field trip, let's jump back over here to our painted textures. I just want to show that off. I really think that's a really cool detail. That train comes across a couple times a day in either direction. We have some more of our painted ground textures here. With respect to our scoring, buildings and ground textures using the new texturing technique, we are going to be giving the map a full point there as well, because all the buildings that we do have on the map are indeed using the new texturing technique. And of course, the ground textures themselves are as well. And then we do have quite the list of ground textures, as we saw. Now, in our pre-release multiplayer testing of this map, we did test, and you can indeed plow under all of these ground textures with the exceptions of stones. Okay, so if any of these ground textures are placed, then you should decide at some point in time to plow up these textures. You will be able to without any sort of difficulty, aside from stones. We've got various grasses with and without wildflowers. There we have our plowed ground. Our 3 stones, small, medium, and large. Let's go ahead and take a look at our production placeables. So here we have our compost bagger. We have our dump point. And then we have our spawn point for our bagged composts. Went ahead and spawned in the bagged compost because we did have a little bit of elevation change here. Wanted to make sure that we had the visibility on where those spawned in at. Then we have the interactive icon around the back of the building. Of course, we have our stone crusher. We will need to put our stones inside the stone crusher, as opposed to the standard base game one, where we could put stones on the side. This is our grain dryer. It does accept propane as an input. We have our interactive icon around the back. Then we have our dump and fill points here to put our wet grain in and bring our dry grain out. Our placeable sleep trigger. Then we have the compost silage bunker, and then the regular silage bunker. So you can identify the two because one has a sign over here that says for compost only, and when we go into the trigger, it says fill level pre-compost, as opposed to the other one that's going to say fill level of chaff. Both of these do have lights that we can turn on and off. And then we have our fermenter. So we have our output pipe. We have our dump point for our chaff or grass. Then we have our interactive icon. Now, the trigger on this is extremely small. So CCS 101's maps, he intends for the maps to be as realistic as possible with respect to the machinery and such. And as such, the trigger for this is basically right here, this close. So if you pull alongside, you're not going to get the trigger. You basically need to dump right there. There's 2 ways to do that. There are modded forage wagons that have a side dump that you could pull up right along here and side dump. You could back a trailer right up to this and get the unload point. Or you could get a drive over belt that would then unload into there. And the last production is going to be our pre-compost manufacturer. This is going to make pre-compost. We're going to need to deliver water and fuel to this facility, as well as pretty much any biomass, fill point, or fill type that will rot. We're going to put that into there, and then we're going to get ourselves some compost. So again, looking at our stave silo, chaff and grass is going to make silage. Our grain dryer, corn, propane, and soybeans is going to make dry corn or dry soybeans. Compost is going to accept straw, manure, diesel, water, grass, hay, chaff, sugar beet, or potatoes, and it's going to make pre-compost. For straw, for example, we're going to have to do straw, manure, diesel, fuel, and water. Grass, diesel, manure, and water, and so forth. Compost bagging is going to accept raw compost and bag it. And then compost, there we go. Now let's run to either side of the map. And from there, take a look at the sell points that are over here. So right now, let's go to the southeast corner. And we'll come back and explore the southwest corner. Looks like we've got a train coming along once again. Did enable fast running. So, believe it or not, we are moving 8 times our normal walking speed in order to get over here. So here we have the grain dump for the south. I would just let them go by. We have the grain dump for the southeast corner. Here we can buy liquid fertilizer or herbicide. Here we're going to be able to sell our logs if we do logging on this map. We have a water trigger. Just making sure that was a water trigger. Here we have a sell point at Wholesale Foods Shipping. Here we have our propane fill trigger. We have our milk sell point. And we have a bale sell point down here as well. Let's follow the train to the southwest corner of the map. And remember, all of these are viable plots. When we were doing our pre-release testing, again, I built out a farm on farmland ID 16. Before I did that, I measured how wide and how deep that particular piece of farmland was. It was approximately 350 meters wide, east to west, and 500 and some meters north to south. So half a kilometer deep and a third of a kilometer wide. That was one of the smallest building plots on the map. So in its own right, quite a large area for a standard size map. Now over here, we're going to have yet another grain sell point, as well as a buy point for seed, a buy point for pig food. We're going to have a shipper sell point as well for products and various things. Now, with respect to our scoring metric, let's just summarize real fast. Does the map have placeables? Does the map have production built in or areas set aside for such? As we have with all wilderness maps, we're giving the map a full point because we have the entirety map set aside to do whatever we want with. So naturally, yes, we do have the ability to place productions down. Here we have a fill point for lime, fill point for solid fertilizer, fill point for propane. Did I say propane? This is anhydrous, sorry. Fill point for anhydrous. We have a buy point for pig food right here. And then we have a grain sell point located right there. Then we have a shipping sell point right there for various produced products. With respect to, can the farms be customizable? We have complete customization on this map because, again, it is a wilderness map, and keeping to all other wilderness maps, we are giving the map a full point. Can we sell all our basic products, production items, and animal outputs? Yes, we can indeed. So once again, the map is getting a full point there. With respect to buildings using the new texturing technique as well as ground textures, once again, we're giving the map a full point there as well, because we do have all FS22 styled buildings, and then we have a bevy of placeable ground textures and paintable ground textures, and all of those are using the newer texture techniques. And then lastly, player and interactive areas being clearly marked. We're going to go ahead and give the map a full point there as well. So that's going to give this wilderness style map a score of 5 out of 5. Now, indeed, it is far easier for a wilderness map to score perfect as opposed to other maps because, well, they are lacking in so many ways. But then again, that is exactly what draws so many people to this style of map, because you have basically, for your creative juices, 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers squared area to do literally whatever you want in. I like how we have 2/3 of the map covered in wild wheat, so we can go ahead and buy the land and harvest that to our heart's content to get a little extra cash before we go and carve it up into fields and make our farm out of that. And then we're going to close it all out up here at our vehicle dealer, animal dealer, and fuel point. Go ahead and check some of this stuff out because there's a lot of details that has been put into this map. Behind the dealer, behind the starting farmhouse area, and the bus depot, for example, you're going to find all types of things. Well, like this old square body GMC, this old Ford Harvester, and these Mako machine racks. And until next time, happy farming.